morning, everyone, and welcome back to the Suburban Pathfinder. When I was in South Africa back in May, one of the things we did was to go camping. I was camping out in the veld with my good friends Johan and Dion and Donnie, and we were camping on Donnie's farm, which is the farm that both he and Johan grew up on. Johan and Donnie are brothers, and they both grew up on the family farm. Johan now farms elsewhere, but the main agricultural endeavor that both of them are involved in is raising sheep and Angora goats to cut the wool for the textile industry. And they deal with all kinds of problems. When you're raising livestock, especially in a very remote place like that, you've got to deal with predators and severe environmental conditions. But one of the biggest problems that I think any livestock raiser has to deal with is parasites. And they have the full range of parasites and diseases and things in South Africa. But one of the most insidious parasites that's, at least to my knowledge, is sort of unique to South Africa, is a phenomenon of what they call paralyzing or paralysis ticks. There are 3 species that appear in South Africa. There's the red-legged tick, there's the brown paralysis tick, and then the one that has the greatest economic impact, and the one that Donnie and Johan are dealing with specifically, is the Karoo paralysis tick. And these ticks, we have ticks here in the United States. They carry all kinds of diseases, and maybe the ticks in South Africa carry diseases as well. But the precise cause of impact from these paralysis ticks is, as the name implies, they induce paralysis in their hosts. So the tick gets onto the sheep or goat, climbs up its legs. They generally attach to the lower, to the belly or the neck of the sheep or goat. And the tick actually secretes a venom, essentially, or a toxin, which literally paralyzes the sheep. The sheep goes and lies down and doesn't move again and basically just wastes away while the tick feeds on its host. Now, if the farmer gets to the sheep or goat in time and very carefully examines the animal and finds the tick and removes it, the animal actually can metabolize the toxin and make a recovery. But if you don't, it'll kill the sheep. So it's a big, big problem. And it's a problem that can be controlled with the use of chemicals, agrochemicals. There's a spray or a dip that you use to treat the sheep. So while we were there camping, we're driving along through on a dirt road, and we come upon this device sitting next to a gate. And my friend Johan called out to his brother to stop the truck and take a look at this device and give me an explanation of it. And then later on, they showed me how they went about doing it in the past. So I'm not going to keep talking. I'm going to hand it off to Donnie and Johan to explain. I have included a link down in the description text below. If you want to read up more on these paralysis ticks, it's a very brief little web page that was put up by one of these agrochemical companies, but it explains the life cycle of the tick and it explains how it works and everything. It's kind of interesting. Anyway, I'm going to hand it off to Donnie and Johan. I hope you all enjoy this. I found it fascinating, and I thought it was worth passing along to all of you because I never even heard of a paralysis tick before.
Okay, this is an old compressor tank. So at home, you pump up your compressor and you pump this tank full of air. About 7-8 bars. Right. This is the dip you use. And that is your container that you throw your dip in. Then you pressurize your container with the air you got here in the veld. And then, okay, there's your mechanism that you pull, and the moment you pull it, the pressurized container with your dip in let the dip flow out with that pipe, and there is 2 spraying nozzles sitting there, spraying the dip underneath the sheep. And if you see, there's a angle I'm putting in so that your sheep has to run, open their legs to run.
Yeah.
Then the dip sprays from underneath them, and that's for ticks.
Just for
Specifically for the Karoo paralyzing tip.
That's correct.
That is in the mountains, wherever you find that broom bush. If you find broom bush in the area, you guarantee to find Karoo paralyzing tick. You must dip in the first week of March. Am I correct?
Before the 20th of March.
Before the 20th of March, you better dip your sheep for Karoo paralyzing tick. Otherwise, the tick will go up the legs. It will mostly be sitting in the neck. Am I correct?
That's right.
It looks exactly like a match head. It's the same size, the same color as a match head. And that sheep will go lie down. It's paralyzed. And then if you don't find the sheep and find in the wool, you must look and get the tick and take the tick off. And then that animal has got a chance to survive. The moment you remove the tick, the paralyzing action starts to reverse. Am I right?
That's right.
So this is to prevent the ticks from.
That is why up in the mountains it's a lot colder, a lot earlier in the winter time. So you must be preventative by doing these spray dips before 20th of March, because that is when the mountains normally gets its first cold. So the Karoo paralyzing tick is something that would attack the sheep when the first cold of the winter arrives.
Oh,
So in other words, Greg, this setup here prevent the tick from climbing on your
It'll
sheep.
kill the
Yeah.
tick. It'll kill the tick.
If it climbs on your sheep before it can bite, or even if he reaches to bite, this dip will kill it.
Yeah.
so you just bring the sheep here and send them through one at a time, and
We are in a kraal, all along the property there's kraals out in the veld. You don't need to bring all the sheep down to the yard. That's why this contraption is standing here. It's ready to be moved up the mountain.
you take it to
Yeah.
the sheep.
You
Okay.
take it to the sheep, yeah. And you kraal the sheep, and then you count the sheep, and you see everything is good. And when you release the sheep, you release them out the kraal through that little spray dip.
Okay. And do you mark them somehow so you know the ones that have been?
No, because you get them onto the kraal, into the kraal, and you count them and you look them through. Everything is good with them, and then you've got the number. The tally is there. You've got your numbers. The numbers are good.
Yeah.
We spot on, and then when everything is done, you have to look them over, and you're happy with that. When you release them, because they don't want to go into that race, into that narrowing.
I see.
They don't like it. But when you open the kraal, and the only way out is through that mechanism,
So for them to go out, they've got to get sprayed.
they gotta get sprayed.
Yeah.
Very cool. Thanks for explaining that. That's very interesting. Something I definitely would not see at home.
No.
Boer make a plan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So before there were these spraying contraptions, they had to dip all the shit. And this is
This is the dip. This is your entry of the dip. As you can see, there's a rock wall, a rock floor, so that your feet of your sheep getting clean, and that all the dirt staying here, and then it getting narrower, and then you place them. So they're going in here. And if you look, there's the mark of the water level of it.
yes.
That's how deep it is. So when they chase in, they go into and they swim through. And before they get to the other side, you have to push his head twice underneath the water.
Okay.
And that is for preventing branchik, I don't know what his English name is. And when you use the same method for the paralyzing tick, you fill the dip about that height, and then you just chase it, because your sheep must just be wet. It's just his stomach must be wet of the dip.
Not the whole sheep.
Not the whole sheep.
Okay. So basically 2 different dipping methods.
2 different dipping methods. One for the paralyzing dip, tick, you just wet its tummy.
And that's what that contraption we saw just earlier, that's what that does.
That's what that
Just sprays the underside of the
just
sheep.
sprays the underside.
And sheep do not like getting their feet wet, apparently.
No, they don't like water. Sheep don't like water at all.
So I bet you they really don't like swimming
No.
through this narrow
No, you
trench.
have to force swimming them in. If you go further, I'll show you. There's your mixing tank.
Oh,
You got a stick to tell you how many water is in there. So you
okay.
mix your dip there and constantly filling the dip. As a sheep going through, you're
Yeah.
constantly filling it from there.
is there a pipe that just comes out
There
into
is
here
a
somewhere?
I think it's there where the bushes is somewhere. There's a pipe coming in. You cannot see it anymore now.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense. That you got to keep refilling it because the sheep are dragging it out with them.
That's right. No, come. Here you can see. Yes, this is my holding kraal, and there's another holding kraal. For the when the sheep coming through the water, they're all wet.
Right, right.
So they stay here for a few minutes, so that all the extra dip flowing back into the dip.
Oh, okay.
And there you can see the furrows, so that the dip go back into the dip.
Oh,
The water go back into the dip.
very, very interesting.
Yeah.
And this again has a stone floor in it.
Stone floor again, stone and cement floor, but the cement, disintegrated over the years. And as you can see, it's totally overgrown. We don't use it anymore.
Yeah. But you spent a lot of time doing this when you were a kid.
Lots of time.
Well, thank you very much for explaining all of that.
Okay.
That's very interesting.